You're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation. This is Cal Nez, and we're doing this podcast series. We start out with the presidential candidates, and we're also have started with uh, the council delegate seats. We've covered quite a few, and again, we're still talking about the topics are still there, and the refinement of the topics that some of the candidates, I actually gave them an opportunity if they want to get re-interviewed. So as it gets closer to primary, I think it is advisable for the ones that have been interviewed. If you want to come forward, no problem. I already said that I would do it, and um, so keep that in mind. Now, there's one thing that continually bothers me, and I'm going to tell you, the Navajo people. These people that are running for president and these people that are running for Navajo Nation Council, they're not going to be our boss. They're not going to be above us. They are technically public servants. It's our money that's going to pay them. And therefore, they have a responsibility to each of us. Shaka'atil washidim need. Edota. Koden sick case and see biyito. Jason Aro biyito. Biniye do binina holongo biyin the ne nihila chun idolek. Ben sin case dolek ben ho adolek. Kade aj nada hushi shikero shidne. Dyson of sai. The hot odisa. Shidne. Hotel, no. That's certain attitudes, certain behaviors. We need to break those. There's what we call the status quo. Anleden hot kat kontlatne. Yin nadi ke. Shadow shikbit ada. Ako tiklat de jehiki. Bait need that. But majority of them, they're looking for a job. That's why you hear about council delegates who get elected, they just disappear into Window Rock. Why? Because as long as they're collecting money in Window Rock, they don't come back to you. There's no reason for them to come back to you. And then all of a sudden we have another election. Those are people who are not public servants. They are looking. They're looking to be an employee of the Navajo Nation. As far as the information that's going in there, that's you might not know anything about it. We've covered most of the basics so far. Because I just got off the phone with one candidate who ran several times, and he won several times, so he's got experience. And the attitude that I came away with that was that, oh, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to do an interview with you because, I've got this in the bag. I'll come to you and and do an interview. It's not doing an interview with Cal Nez. Cal Nez, it is your job to do what this campaign season is all about. This campaign would yagi ainle the nebekana atta the ne hunde yat shikero shidina at your chapter level. That's what campaign is all about. To reconnect with your community. To be able to sharpen up some of those platforms so that you can do a better job at your next one. And all of a sudden, well, we also know that that this guy and two other characters that I know that are basically saying, oh, I'm too popular. I'm already in there. You know what, voters? Those are the people that need to go. They don't need to be in there to be based running on narcissism, running on egos, running on all this crap that I just totally disagree with. Because we need to have we need to have people who really can bring a dimension to us that is new, that's innovative, that's energetic, that is innocent, that is not tainted by outside politics. With that, something for you to think about. You can disagree with me as much as you can. That's fine, because the next election, my words will be true. With that, so tonight, like I said, I invited all the candidates, whoever been interviewed, for them to come back and do a follow up, at any time. So that's going to be the topic tonight. We have Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay. He is running for Navajo Nation Council delegate, and his area is District 1. And he is with Coppermine, LeChee, Bitoodnii, and Tonalea, Bitoodnii, maybe I totally killed that, and Kinyaa'áanii. Oh, that's his clan. So I'm into a whole different thing. So basically, he's running for council delegate. So he'll reintroduce himself, and we have him here with us. So, Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay, introduce yourself of who you are and which chapters you're running for, all of that, please.
Oh, well, good morning, or sorry, good evening. Joanna, yat, all not so chic a shidden she kill be gay a shia. Aro don't nigga sunigi a pipatoni, torich in a slang, Kinyaa'áanii a bushin touching a dash che, Aro kanazani a dashanelle, Nele nashit on dat nasha, Aro Nele beckers betote, a ada caged ento ada shiaho. Aro shama ali to be gable, yeah. Aro shije a wilson be gable and then. Aro Janek Litsui the Bajini Dan Aisha Che and Aunt Albert Dandy Senior Aro Bersan A Core Dandy William Dan Aisha Masane do Alonja but a Lily Cloud William Dan Aisha Masane and Aunt Aro Shache A Gordon Class Senior William Dan Aro Chanel Hastings Chanel Asan A Johnny Donona Bigay William Dan and they say but Ada Hatch Ashike Aro Shathaja Egi A Shana Holon to Aslan Shadeja Holon Aro the question shinache tkhadindo nak tkhadindo ba an nak shinache aro wadako ba tkagi isha e shinat sos bidziligi e tkha shahlon aro DJ Nale Western Governors University Nale Seattle Washington audit Masters of Business Administration audit by Nish Nana Aro akut ago tenen konana yat so hello everyone, good evening. My name is SHAQUILLE Begay. I come from Cal Spring, Arizona. I'm a registered voter of Tonalea chapter. My clans are I am Deer Spring, Bitterwater. I am born for the Tiring House clan. My maternal grandfathers are the Red Running to the Water, and my paternal grandfathers are the Tango clan. My mom, her name is Leda Begay. and my dad is the late Wilson Begay. Although my grandparents, as I stated, I'm from Wildcat Peak, Arizona, and my great grandfather, his name was Albert Dandy Sr. In Navajo, he was known as Janet Kutsui, and he was originally from Coppermine, Arizona, but eventually settled in Wildcat Peak, Arizona with my great grandma, Cora Dandy. And their oldest daughter is my grandma. Her name is Lily Claw, and my grandpa is a late Gordon Claw Sr. Otto, my Nellies are from Sand Spring, Arizona. My Nelly man, his name is Johnny Begay, the late Johnny Begay, and Otto, my Nelly lady is also the late Nona Begay. And I currently a student at Western Governors University. I'm currently in the master's program in Masters of Business Administration. Um, and I also attended Diné College. I have 3 degrees from Diné College. And also I have a professional certification, which is project management professional. So that's my background. My background and expertise is project management. I have experience in the healthcare sector, mining sector, and also in the tourism area. And that is who I am. I just want to jump on and also explain my platform. So as I stated, my name is SHAQUILLE Begay. I am running for Navajo Nation Council Delegate for District 1. District 1 consists of Coppermine chapter, LeChee chapter, Kaibito chapter, and Tonalea chapter. I'm currently on the ballot as position number 1. So anyone within District 1, make sure to vote for me, SHAQUILLE Begay. And I just also want to share some of my platform that I have here. So there's 6 major areas. So my platform is built upon serving the Navajo people, so serving you guys. And the number one thing is infrastructure. So infrastructure is very important. We're currently in 2026, and we're still talking about water issues. We don't have running water. There's lack of electricities in rural areas as well. Um, and as I stated, I am a college student, so definitely Wi-Fi is very necessary around here. Um, Broadband, and then housing is the next thing that would fall within infrastructure. Number 2 is going to be our youth and elders, and then number 3 is going to be education. So on the Navajo Nation, we do have 2 colleges, 2 universities, which is going to be Diné College and Navajo Technical University. And those are the colleges that I would really want to promote our younger generations to attend, because you can obtain your bachelor's degree, master's degree within our own institutions and not have to pay a lot of money for it. So it's affordable and also it's local, and we'll be supporting our own economy. Whatever money that we bring within the college sector, we're able to make it go back into employment, hiring more professors, expanding our programs, our services. The next area is going to be healthcare. So I am a very strong proponent of 638 facilities. I truly believe that we really need to move our facilities and away from this IHS sector to the 638 facilities. And I know there's a lot of people that have their opinions about it, but the way I look at it is state a government shutdown. When a government shutdown happens within the United States, it affects the Indian Health Service because that's where our funding comes from. And within that, like during the pandemic, we saw people get furloughed. People were let go. With the current administration, there was cutbacks, and that definitely could affect IHS facilities. And the benefit with 638 facilities is that we generate our own revenue ourselves. So we're able to expand our services. We're able to hire and keep our employees within our area to ensure that the economy is going well, that we're providing necessary, excellent healthcare for our people. So that's the reason why I'm a strong proponent of 638 facilities. And then economic growth and stability. So we are in the Navajo Nation. We don't have NGS. In District 1, NGS was our primary source of revenue for, a primary source of revenue, but also employment for a majority of our people. That's no longer there. So we really need to look at areas of how we can expand it. District 1, Tuba City is going to be definitely healthcare education, expanding those programs, supporting them. In Tuba City, we have our 638 facility, and the surrounding communities, we have Sage Memorial, Winslow Indian Healthcare. There's other 638 facilities on the Navajo Nation that provides employment to our Navajo people. So definitely improving that, because that's going to be a really good source of revenue for our people regarding economic stability, also in employment. And then sustainability on Navajo Nation, we do have Navajo-owned businesses such as the Navajo Nation Canyon Tours within my area, LeChee. They do a wonderful job. They employ a majority of our community's members from LeChee, Kaibito, and I'm also one of those employees. I work at the marina on the weekends, so I drive about an hour one way just to go to work on Saturdays and Sundays. It's an extra source of income for me. So that's the reason why I really believe that we really need to support our tribal Navajo-owned businesses and ensure that they have our support, that we're also fighting for them. And then the next area is going to be law enforcement. So we are currently in the process of recruitment. That is something that is ongoing. We see that every day on Facebook regarding the Navajo Nation police updates. But an area that I think that we really need to build upon is our prosecutors. I've been watching a lot of the law and order committees, and it's mind boggles me that within a busy district, we only have one or two prosecutors, and that's a lot of work because yes, we can hire more police officers, but that's more cases or that's more charges that will need to be filed. And if we only have one or two prosecutors, they're not going to get to it right away. They're going to also have to prioritize what's the most critical issue that needs to be prosecuted. And I know a big thing with on the Navajo Nation is going to be public intoxication. So that's something that we see people get arrested, they get released 8 hours later. It's kind of like a recurrent thing. We're really not improving it. So that would definitely go through the Navajo Nation Council Law and Order Committee, making sure that we look at the law of how we can make the punishment or the consequence a little bit stricter, and so then we can really try to decrease the crime that is happening. And that's where the prosecutors would come in because they're the ones that actually charge or file charges. If they don't file charges within a certain period, then that case will actually get dismissed. And that person, if it's like, say, a domestic violence case, they get back out. So it's really important that we have prosecutors within our area that is fully staffed, that have also have the funding there because yes, we are. We have a lot of lawyers, Navajo lawyers, but they're not coming back. That's the sad part about it. They're staying in the city, and that's not just in that sector. It's kind of just in general. In healthcare, that's one thing. We provide scholarships to them, but they end up staying in Phoenix because they find a good job. There's the city life that they enjoy. So that's something that I also would want to try to focus on and improving. But also, how can we retain more of our Navajo people to fill those positions? Because we are getting attorneys, we are getting people from outside of Arizona, outside the Navajo Nation, who we are very, very grateful for them. They're serving our people, but they also deal with the challenge of no housing, or the Navajo Nation pay is not competitive. They're getting paid, I would say that I wouldn't say the bare minimum, but their lawyers or attorneys are certified in the state of Arizona and New Mexico Navajo Bar, but they're not being paid competitively compared to like outside entities such as in Phoenix, such as the county. So that is something that I would really want to work on. Also, it wouldn't just be me, it would also be the fellow council delegates within the Law and Order Committee. Um, so public safety is very important within that aspect. And then lastly, is just really building a stronger partnership with our Navajo communities, empowering our chapters, because I know one thing that I've been hearing attending my chapter meetings is that we elect a council delegate, but they end up going to Window Rock and they don't come back, or they don't come to we invite our council delegate, but they don't ever come back. And I think that's one issue that I have seen with regarding the redistricting with the Botaway Gap. I know they've been trying to get a hold of our council delegate. They did mention that the incumbent hasn't been there for a few meetings. So they're very concerned about that because there was really no communication with them regarding redistricting and pushing them to the district on what is it going to be, the south side with Cameron. So there's they stated that they didn't have that communication or that opportunity to voice their opinion. So that's definitely that lack of transparency, that lack of communication that played a role within that, and not obtaining your community's opinion or their voice, not getting their voices heard regarding that process. And just really working together to protect our communities. We're currently in 2026. The world is evolving, and we need to find out ways of how we can evolve with it, how we can make ourselves more sustainable economic growth, development, and just create a better future for our next generation is what my platform is built upon. And that's who I am. And yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview again.
Bįįh, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, all you listeners out there. You're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation. This is Cal Nez, your host, and our guest tonight is Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay. I want to get into SHAQUILLE Begay. Thank you for sharing your platform. This is how you're going to address a lot of these are very needed platform issues. And but I want to know exactly who SHAQUILLE Begay is and what sets you aside from your opponents.
Okay, so who is SHAQUILLE Begay? SHAQUILLE, I'm a community member. I'm a community member from Tonalea chapter. I was raised here. I went to school here. I went to school at Tonalea Day School. I went to school at Tibet City High School. Once a warrior, always a warrior. So anyone, our warrior fans out there watching this, make sure to vote for me. And then I also went to school at the night college. I did not go off the reservation. I started working at our local 638 facility right after high school at the age of 18. I have worked in the ER as a ER tech. So that was definitely a very good experience because I saw the daily struggles that our Navajo people face within the healthcare sector, but also chronic diseases. I also have a degree in public health. So when I talk about chronic diseases and healthcare, I think a major big issue with us is diabetes. That is something that I would really want to support is our Navajo Nation Diabetes Program, our Just Move It events. Um, and I am a community member. I'm not a politician. I The reason why I ran for Navajo Nation Council is because it's time for a new generation of leadership. I have new ideas. I have a new approach. I know a lot of our past council delegates were experienced leaders, but you just got to look at it, take a step back and look at what has happened within the past 10 years. It kind of seems like we still are experiencing the same thing. We've been hearing about water infrastructure or getting water out to our communities for the past, what, 20 years? I think I heard it when I was like in elementary school. So that was probably 20 years ago. And it's still the same issue. We still deal with lack of electricity. And what I bring to the table is my experience. I'm a project manager. I have a PMP certification. I bring new ideas. It's time for a new generation of leadership. And that is something that I think that we see with our current Navajo Nation Council. I know a lot of people are very hesitant about voting for someone who doesn't speak fluent Navajo, but that should not be a reason to not vote for someone like that or someone like me. Because when we look at the Navajo Nation Council, there's about 4 individuals who hardly speak Navajo that are the most vocal. They're bringing the most legislation compared to our veterans, our veteran council delegates that have been there. You don't see them when it comes to like real issues like this 24 million that is gone. You don't see them being vocal about it. And yeah, there's a lot that goes within that. But SHAQUILLE is a community member from Tonalea. I'm also a marathon runner. I went to school here. I'm from the community, and that is the reason why I'm running for Navajo Nation Council.
Okay, thank you. Um, one of the things, having been doing this politics for a long time, and especially after I started this, I operate the. Oh, by the way, people, if you want to join a real in-depth, accurate, facts-based Facebook page talking about the Navajo Nation politics. I have a Facebook group called Politics on the Navajo Nation. You can friend me and I can invite you and you can jump in there. But I still allow people to comment from the outside, but so just know that. But during this whole process, Mr. Begay, the Navajo people, obviously, they are vetting, they are checking their candidates. And they, at one time, wanted to go with somebody who is a politician and somebody that they think is going to have experience. Oh, yeah, we need to have somebody well educated. So they put an attorney in there, and the list goes on. Every type of, in other words, they have a description. Büįh, the current president, basically represented the young generation, the youth. And they tried it. But they're saying, it didn't get us anything. Now, you just said just now that you want to have the newer generation to be able to come in and lead our Navajo Nation. How do you address that youth, young, new, and, what do you say about that?
Okay, so I actually just want to answer this question because I know there's someone that commented about finding uh, finding data regarding diseases on, I know in the Facebook comments. So in Tuba City, we do have the community health assessment survey. So that's actually published. I think the most recent one that was published back in 2024. So you can find it on the Tuba City Regional Healthcare Corporation website. And that survey is conducted every 3 years. So I know they're currently in the process of updating it for the next year. So definitely that's where you would find it. But regarding your question, first, I am not Bünagrin. I think how I would answer that question. I Yes, it is very. I think regarding the whole. I was a Bünagrin supporter in the beginning when he first made his announcement, ran for president. I was in full support, and definitely that was just because of him being a younger generation. The education, the background, but that definitely shows a lot about his character, about what's currently going on. And regarding me, I don't put myself above the people. Um, I'm serving the people. I'm a voice for my community members. And as I stated, I live the daily struggle that everyone lives. I drive to work. I have, like, when it comes to jobs, I have my college degree, but on the Navajo Nation, we do deal with the issue of the lack of availability or the lack of employment. So it's very competitive with other individuals who have a college degree because you're literally fighting for a position, and that's very hard for our people on the Navajo Nation. Um, and when it comes to me being, I'm just not the type of person who's going to go above my community. When it comes to issues, definitely it's going to be, I'm going to be making my decision based on their opinions. Definitely ensuring that there's that open line of communication with my chapter officials, with my community members, because our community members are very vocal. They do have opinions about issues that are currently going on in Window Rock. And that's really just, and it's really, really important as a council delegate that we continue to go back to our chapter houses, participate, listen to our community, find ways of how we can address their concerns, and as a council delegate, how we can also implement those concerns at the Navajo Nation level, because it is um, it is very hard to. I I feel like at this time, due to what's going on with Boone Nigrin, as a younger generation, as a younger person who's running for Navajo Nation Council, that is something that I currently deal with, is people notifying me that, well, what's going on Winter Rock? Is that going to happen if we vote you in? And my answer to that is no. I definitely have morals. I have principles. I was raised with the idea if you want something, you work hard for it. And that is very important to me. And I don't just represent myself, I represent my family, I represent my community of Tonalea. So I'm not just fighting, I'm not just working for myself, I'm working for my community members. And that is how I would answer that question.
Okay. Um, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's something that needs to be looked at, whether it's right to have people give opinions like that about candidates, but it's also morphed into this other dimension. And that dimension is gender. You know, I hear some people out there running around saying, yes, the men have screwed it up this whole time, so we got to put a woman in there. Uh, you know, should it be about description? Should it be about gender? Should it be about somebody having a degree? Should it be about, you know, the young, the old? You know, I don't think so. It's about a character. It is about somebody having common sense. I know a lot of college graduates, people with degrees, who don't have common sense. And that's the thing. And I advise all the voters and all the listeners, you know, we can't just go in there and just throw people in there. So I'm glad that you asked. And I think that there's got to be a parallel as to how that the newer generations are going to govern themselves. Ako, um, let me give you a list of what we have talked about.
And I think most importantly, sorry for interrupting. I think most importantly, it's definitely our chapter, our community members. Do your research. Just because someone feeds you on election day, that doesn't mean to vote for them. I know a lot of my opponents or the people that I'm running with for District 1, we all bring different expertise, different experiences to the table, and that's great. But it's very important for, as a community member, to do your research, find out what has this person done, what's their experience, what has happened at their employment, if they were on a board of directors, what has transpired, what was a growth within that time frame, what have they offered to our community. And those are areas that I think a lot of people should do their research in before they choose an opponent. It would be another answer to a question like that or scenario.
Yeah, totally agreed. Because I think that everything has a parallel, you know, the current, and there's an upside and there's also a downside. And as a candidate, you're going to be running and looking at these issues, then calibrating exactly how are you going to navigate through all that mess. I call it a mess. So there's one thing I want to give you this list, and I'd like for you to pick out two of them that I'd like for you to follow up on. And or you're welcome to also bring up whatever topic that you feel is relevant, because this is pertaining to once you get to Window Rock, should you get elected. You know, you're going to be working for the entire Navajo people, not only just your chapter. Your connection to your chapter, that's your responsibility. So starting with topic number 1, veterans. Topic number 2, healthcare 638. 3, schools 638s. 4, ranches. 5, enterprises. 6 is the conflict between the executive branch and the legislative branch. And then number 7, economic development. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me just go through some of that. Let's start off with education. So on education, I know that is something that we have discussed in the past. As I stated, I am a product of the Denied College. I have, instead of going off the Navajo Nation, I ended up staying here. And I went to school at Denied College. I graduated with 3 degrees, also with my bachelor's degree. And that was very rewarding because I did the entire program without loans, and now I'm currently in my master's program, and it's very hard because now I have to pay the tuition per term, and that's definitely very stressful. And when I think about tribal schools, we really need to motivate our younger generations to our high school kids and also junior high to get the idea that they need to go to Diné College. I know Diné College was the first tribal college throughout the United States. That's amazing. I don't understand why we are paying for our kids to go to colleges off the Navajo Nation. They end up in Flagstaff, NAU, ASU, U of A, and they end up staying there. And just imagine if we were able to try to promote Diné College more, we could actually create. Diné College is number one within tribal colleges. We could actually create, as you mentioned before, Diné College as like the Harvard. The Harvard of tribal colleges. That is something that we could work towards. If we really implement more students or get more students enrolled within programs on the Navajo Nation, such as Diné College or NTU, that just has more revenue that we're generating within that area. Then that's also providing more opportunities, more college degrees, or more studies, but also us to hire more professors for in different fields. Um, and I know with NTU, their big thing is their nursing program. Also with the mechanical engineering, they have their master's program, they have their PhD program. These are programs that are not offered at other tribal colleges. So I don't understand why we are sending our kids with like Navajo Nation funding, scholarship funding off the reservation when that could be here. Um, then the next thing is going to be healthcare. As I stated, I am in full support of 638 facilities. I think when it comes to 638 facilities, we have a couple in Navajo Nation, such as Fort Defiance. We have Sage, Winslow, Tuba City. We have Utah Navajo, and I did provide that example of the reason why is with IHS. Look at Gallup India Medical Center. They've been talking about a hospital for the past few years, and it still hasn't happened. And look at Tuba City. They have Echo Cliffs that's going to be opening the first Friday of October, and that's already a new facility that was brought up. That's a 638 facility. So they're expanding services to areas within the Navajo Nation or within the community that's providing that quality healthcare for our people, but also employment for individuals such as in Page, Coppermine, Gap. And that is wonderful because that's a source of revenue for our people and also economic growth and stability for our community. And another thing when it comes to healthcare facilities on the Navajo Nation, but also with the Navajo with tribal 638 educational institutions. I think one thing that I would really want to work on as a Navajo Nation Council is a part of HESI would the idea of I know I'm going to probably get some backlash for this is term limits. Um, how as a board, we need to be innovative. We need new ideas. I know you just mentioned that some people may not like that, but how can we expand services? How can we think about other other ways that we can grow our colleges, other ways we can expand our services here within our healthcare institution. I think with at the Net College when I was there, a big issue during my junior year was was the idea of them not offering not remote learning, online classes. And at one point, they were really moving all the classes back into in person, but that's very hard because a majority of their students are Navajo working 8 to 5 employees. Like me, I was working 8 to 5, and it made it very difficult. And that goes back to the board. The board is the one that makes that decision that they want students back in the classroom, but they should be looking at ways of how they can expand and offer more online classes for our working individuals out there. And then when it comes to the healthcare sector, um, I know certain, let's give an example of Sage. Sage has gone through their ups and downs, and I give props to the board. The board has did a wonderful job within the past few years regarding expansion, getting their new facility. But when you look at the board of directors on all institutions, I feel like we're just kind of, it's like they get elected and they stay there. We're not bringing in new people. We're not bringing in that first fresh perspective, that new ideas and new services that we could bring. I know like other healthcare institutions, such as in Phoenix, like Gila River, they actually have term limits. I think it's like 2 years you can be on a board of directors, and um, those positions are held by like I think the tribal members, but they're like MBAs, they like have a JD, they're lawyers, they're different individuals within the community that bring different experiences, expertise to expand services. So like that would be a really good example of like term limits or bringing in new ideas. And then I know you stated economic growth and development. I think when it comes to economic growth within my area, I think a big thing I want to state here on record is that I do not support fracking. I do not support uranium hauling. I do not support uranium mining. Those are areas that I do not support um, because here on the Navajo Nation, such as in District One, I know a big issue was uranium hauling. It goes through our community of Tonalea. It goes through my community of Cow Spring, right along the highway. So it's very harmful. And I know what back in I think May there was that incident, the accident that happened near Shanto, and the Navajo Nation can't handle that. We have to call outside entities to help assist with issues like that. So that's the reason why I think when it comes to issues such as uranium, we shouldn't be dealing with it. I also, the way I look at stuff like that is I was raised in a traditional family. And like we pray, like you pray, when you pray, you talk about the no sign, you talk about dislatsan, toasan, and everything is regarding the earth. So if we want the earth to take care of us, we also want to take care of her. And that's the reason why I believe that we shouldn't be looking at we shouldn't be fracking, we shouldn't be mining. And then I think let's start off with that. Then do you have any questions that you want me to answer regarding those three topics?
Well, you selected healthcare 638. You've got school, and I believe you touched on the economic development. So those are the three things. Now, um, you said the schools, and yeah, I mean they're all heavies. They're all heavies. Uh, how because the ship has already set sail for every one of these. The ship has already set sail. In order to turn it around, change it this way, the course is how do we improve that ship so that it can navigate to its final path. I wanted just to stress this guy, Big Mountain Chisha. Um, you're not understanding what we're saying here. We're not saying that the next college is Harvard. It is saying that the Navajo Nation could have the potential to be the Harvard within Native American colleges. Because if the Navajo Nation and the people would generally give and we get the best professors and we build this institution so that it will have the most powerful I mean, even the Lagana students, the world would come to our colleges if we raise enough money so that this college is self-sustaining, and it's that type of thing. It's more of a concept. It's not literal. So get that straight. So
And,
back to what you're
and
talking about. Go ahead.
Sorry. And another, I know we spoke about the net college, and one thing that I also want to make a remark is about Dr. Shazia. She's a professor, biology professor at Tuba City. She came to Tuba City a few years ago. I think it was about 3 or 4, and she was the one that is I wouldn't say co-founder, but started the Masters of Science in Biology program. And that program, I think, graduated within the past 3 years, 2 years. Um, from the amount of people I have seen, they graduated, I think, like six individuals with their masters in biology. And I know out of that six, they also and there's about four people that I know that went to or applied to medical school and also physician assistant school. So that's definitely a new opportunity, because when we look at like NAU programs or like ASU programs, those programs are there, but they're expensive. And to get a master's degree there, you have to move there. You got to think about cost of living. How are you going to support yourself financially? But this program, this Master's of Science and Biology, is in Tuba City. It's a very small program. You get that one-on-one with the professor. This individual has all certifications. She's experienced. Um, she brings a lot to the table, and is still here. And I'm sure she's not getting paid enough from the college, but that shows how our professors throughout the college are providing that excellent education for our people. And that is something that I'm very grateful for, because I know that they don't get paid enough, but they're doing a wonderful job. They're giving that educational opportunity for our younger generation, generations like me, to get my college degree at an affordable cost locally without traveling or moving off the reservation.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Like I said, you've talked about three different concepts, and that's okay. You're welcome to talk about any issues, but 638 is a pet peeve of mine. As a business person, I don't agree with 638s, but that's just my personal opinion. And the reason why, I think, is that the Navajo Nation and the United States government promised that they'll provide health care forever. But somewhere along the line, the self-determination came up, and the federal government most likely said, "Oh yeah, let's give the health care to the Native Americans, and they can own it." And really, the underbelly, in my opinion, it is not what it appears to be. Yeah, it sounds like, yeah, we're going to run our own healthcare facilities. But really, it's a lie. And that lie is the United States government is trying to save tax dollars. Healthcare, schools, what the government gives to us, the federal government does not want to have anything to do with that. If it was up their choice, they wouldn't give us a penny. But because of treaty rights, and healthcare is one of them. And so if they give us a 100% control, there's a question. If they can do it, kudos to them. If they don't, then who suffers? The Navajo people. And that's where the boards do come in. So I'm not saying this is how you should think. If you support 638, what I'm saying here is that for you to give me an answer as to what is going to be the solution that right now, like equivalently to what's going on with the healthcare system and the enterprises, they're pushing Section 17, which is 100% autonomy, and to leave the government out of there. And because of that, some of these enterprises are just running off. And that's where the boards are all connected. So coming back to the 638 facilities, you talked about all the wonderful stuff about how you support it, and that's great. That's okay, because you need to have a stance. But what I want to ask you is that if there was one or two things that you feel like that needs to be improved, should you be elected and you come to Window Rock, what would those improvements be for the 638 healthcare facilities?
So number one would be advocating strongly, like as you stated, yes. When it comes to the 630 facilities, I'm in full support of it, but then I know there's people that don't are hesitant about it, because we do have the treaty of the treaty there that indicated that the United States government would provide healthcare to us. Um, but when you really, I it goes back to that example that I provided. Whenever there's a government shutdown, the IHS is furloughing people. With 638 facilities, we don't do that, and we're able to keep people employed. And I know you did mention how when it comes to um, so I think number one, what I would do if I was in council delegate for 680 facilities is advocating more for them when it comes to funding. Because yes, the IHS does give us funding, but it's not enough funding to run our hospitals. It doesn't even cover our operational costs. So that's why it's important that we, as a 630 facility, that we ensure that our revenue cycle department, our team knows what they're doing. We're coding everything within a timely manner. Are you there? Within a timely manner, that we're able to get those reimbursements quickly because that's our source of revenue. And when it comes to also 638 facilities, another big source of funding for us is grants. We have grants from the state and also at the federal level. I think a majority of healthcare institutions here, when it comes to like public health programs, they do receive their funding from grants, which is great because that provides an extra source of income. Well, not income, but covers expenses regarding like Just Move It or Just Move It's events, or like diabetes education, public health initiatives. That's what grants could help out with. And I think one thing that I have noticed within the grant processes is that these grants are not tailored to Navajo people. It's not tailored to our Navajo communities. When it comes to like healthcare disparities, as I stated, I have a degree in public health, and I think on the Navajo Nation, our big thing is diabetes. Diabetes is it's a terrible disease because if it's not managed correctly, we have people running into renal issues, people not taking their medication, um, and I feel like care um, really needs to be the care needs to be improved where we need to try to move away from this idea of one size fits all approach for our community members, because we all come from different backgrounds, we all come from different areas, and we need to create programs specifically for that one community member. We could have a grandma living in a rural area living by herself, and how is our program going to help her? And then we may have a grandma who lives with her kids and who takes very good care of her. So those are two different backgrounds that a grandma could experience, that grandma in that scenario could experience. So we really need to create our program specifically for our community members themselves. And I think as a Navajo Nation Council delegate, I know everyone's hesitant about this whole idea of moving our 638 facility or IHS facilities to a 638 way, because the US government they do need to support us. But that goes back to the Navajo Nation, but also the president going to Washington advocating for those fundings, and advocating to our Congress, our state officials. And I think with the Arizona right now, we do have that a grant availability, but a majority of those grants that are available are not tailored to Native communities. As I stated, a big issue for us is chronic diseases. And when you look at the like funding that's available for chronic diseases, it's very low. So how are we competing with other institutions, other tribal institutions throughout the United States, or sorry, throughout Arizona? It becomes very competitive, and that's the reason why it's very important that we have someone in office that's advocating for issues like that. And that is someone that would be me. I am very vocal. I think that we do have our treaty that the United States government needs to be held to, and they need to provide services that was agreed upon.
Hmm. Interesting. Can you look at the screen? Look at that question. Can you answer that question by one of our listeners? You see that? Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, now I
Okay,
can
so
hear
I'm
you.
looking at
Go
the
ahead.
question. I see the question. Okay, so I see the comments about Denai College. We never said it was an Ivy League. I think that's where we need to
Yeah,
fact
the
check on
last
that.
que-
It's not Ivy League. Denai College.
yeah,
Do
the
you support
last question.
legislation to better oversight of security facilities? Are you aware of 65014? CO 5014. I'm not aware of that, but do I support better oversight of security facilities? Yes, I do. And I think when it comes to that, a couple of years ago, we did have a Navajo Nation Attorney General. No, sorry, Navajo Nation Surgeon General. So that is something that I think the Navajo Nation really needs to bring back because that person is a medical provider. That person's able to um, would be would be included within that oversight. But I think I know in the past I did mention HESI should be oversight. I don't think so because when we our HESI committee does not they don't have experience. They're not healthcare providers.
Yep.
So how are they going to be able to operate a healthcare institution? I think what we could do as a healthcare organization, there's the IHS facilities, but also with the 630 facilities, maybe nominate someone that has that medical background that is, say, a registered nurse or a medical provider or has that medical background to a committee, subcommittee that we could create, and they would be the oversight with the Navajo Nation Surgeon General, would be that general oversight for our or our 630 facilities is something that I think that we could do within the Navajo Nation Council. Um, and that I think what we that would I would definitely would support a legislation like that.
Okay,
But
one
then
of
it,
the one. Whoops, sorry. Some of the uniqueness about this. Hold on. Sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Apologize about that. Okay. One of the uniqueness about District One, there's four candidates, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure about the incumbent, but three besides the incumbent, you guys are all affiliated with the healthcare in
Yes.
one way or another. And obviously they have their opinions, but in order to address this, since you brought it up, healthcare 638, uniquely, what sets you aside uniquely that you're the candidate that should address some of the disparities within the 638s?
Okay, so what sets me apart from my opponents is I think that a major thing is I'm not a board member. We had two individuals who are my opponents that were board members. Um, and that's why I think it's very important that our community members, also the voters, do their research because do their research. Um, what sets me apart or what puts me as a candidate for this, as a supporter, is I work here. I have been working for the organization for the past 3 years. Before that, as I stated, I worked in the emergency department for 6 years as an ER tech. So I have seen the disparities that our people go through. I have seen the issues, chronic diseases. I have, I'm also first first and foremost, I'm also a person that uses the system. I work here. I also get seen here at Tuba City, and there's areas that I think we could definitely improve on. Number one would definitely be customer service. There's a lack of coordination. There's times where it's very hard. I think a big thing is I feel like a big thing for us is the loss of revenue is not having that like appointments. Availability. There's a lack of availability. I think when you need to see a provider, like appointments fill up so quick, and then you're told to come back tomorrow. You're told to call the first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. At 7:10, appointments are gone. It's fully booked, and it got to the point where I got frustrated with that. So I ended up getting seen in Phoenix at Gila River Healthcare. And that's also a 638 facility, but that is like 30 years ahead of us. They are, I think, compared to tribal facilities, they are like the banner health of all tribal facilities. It's so top notch. They are on it. And that is something that I would want to see for Tuba City in the future, is to get to that point. And um, when I think about that instant, I also like, they know that I'm traveling 4 hours to get seen there. So they know that they want to collect that revenue. They want to make sure they charge my insurance because I have private insurance. So like if I need to say dental appointment, eye appointment, PCP appointment, they'll schedule all appointments within that one day. So I get seen by the providers, no issue. Like they schedule it, they tell me my appointments are at 9, 10:30, 11, 2, and 3. And it's that never happens here on the reservation. That doesn't happen in Tuba City. So I think that I bring that type of background. I also worked at facilities in Phoenix. I worked at the University of Arizona, UMC Phoenix, as a ER tech, also, and as an ICU tech. And I have seen the way management works there. So I bring healthcare experience to the table, and that is something that I think would really benefit me within this role as a Navajo Nation Council delegate. But most importantly, it's just, how can I say this nicely? Do your research. Um, and I know there's a comment out there regarding our hospital on the Navajo Nations. I know they get scored like a 3-star, 4-star hospital, and I know there's healthcare institutions out there that went from like being a 3-star hospital to a 1-star hospital. So that should definitely say a lot about management and also the board of directors, because the board of directors are there to think strategically. They should be thinking about ways of expanding care, improving care for our community members. But also management is the daily, like the management or CEO, COO, and so on are there to manage the healthcare organization daily. But the board of directors should be there to look at issues like that. Why are they not questioning that? How did a healthcare institution that was once a 3-star hospital go to a 1-star hospital? Is it like where is the problem? Is it the board of directors? Are they not enforcing ways to improve for improvement, or is it management? And that is where that needs to be looked at as well.
Very well, Jonah. Now, Kuroshi ATA Nandish Kidole Adanek Etcher. Hala Dire Council Delegates, Bishmata Sa'ana and Iliago. The Nashibithan Nado Le Shamle Hana Ara the Bogan. Doid a Kindan Nelgo Besagan Ketchiatas Tea data. The neck Etchiatas Tea Shin Sto. Ko did never zard Bitoodnii. Our ye, which in a hoti has lain. Hidden have bizarre yet or ye yadashita. Perhaps the deed. Nahas tuya what all ye hidasi. Hard she in his badadi kadoyu which a dobirata. Ako a odd the thou. Navajo Nation basement on an Iliago. Han sogod an the Sinzigi. Ado so did the Navajo people. That's what Nahasaba Kai Keda Hatini Han, so go 80 Nebazadi, but the sister. Go ahead.
Yes, it's very important that we talk Navajo, that we strengthen that. I know I have been very transparent with my community members and also all my chapters, that yes, I don't speak fluent Navajo. That is something that they all know. And that is something that I'm still learning today, but that should not be a reason to not vote for me. Because as you stated, it goes based upon character. I have provided that example that there are people on the Navajo Nation Council that don't speak Navajo, but they are the most vocal. They are bringing the most legislation. They are, when it comes to real issues, they're vocal about it. And sometimes, like as I brought the 24 million up, where are all the people that there's only like the non-Navajo or non-Navajo speaking individuals that are concerned about it. They're the ones questioning it, and it mind boggles me. And yes, as I stated, I don't speak Navajo. That is something I'm still learning. And I do understand that there's people out there that are very hesitant about voting for someone that doesn't speak fluent Navajo. Um, but that is something that I am still learning today. And that is something that I'm going to be working on throughout throughout the next few years. But that's how I would answer that question. But definitely, I think it shouldn't be it's really up to the person to make that initiative to learn the language. I was raised in a household where my mom and my dad, that was all we heard. Um, they spoke Navajo day and night, and my siblings speak Navajo. But I don't know why, for me, it just was very difficult to pick up. And that is something that I deal with that consequence today. Um, so it's nothing new to me. I'm still learning, and that's how I would answer that question.
Okay. Um, Now, kind of since you're doing a follow up, I'm going to add another dimension, one more thing, and this will be a standard question for everybody. There are social concerns, really serious concern, and some of them have been turned into generationals. The primary issue is alcoholism, and now we've got drugs, uh, and of all sorts. Used to be marijuana at one point, but now it's gotten into opiates, all sorts of stuff, and it's crazy. It's absolutely running rapid. But primarily with alcoholism, we have prohibition, right? We have prohibition. How would you address the prohibition on the Navajo Nation?
So on the Navajo Nation, we all know alcoholism is a big issue, and um, it's definitely helping our people. On the Navajo Nation, within my community, we do have the Navajo Nation behavioral health centers. Um, that is there, that resource is there, but it's really up to the person to make that initiative, to want help, to seek that help, and to go to the healthcare or to go to the institution and participate as well. Because yes, we can continue to talk about, hey, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, but it goes in one ear then out the other. And I think as a Navajo Nation, as a council, what can we do? um, we saw the most recent council who purchased the institution out in Phoenix, the rehab center. I don't know why we are buying it off the reservation. If we are really wanting to help our people, that should have been on the Navajo Nation. That should be Navajo Nation based. That should be with our teachings, our prayers, and that is something. Yes, a lot of people don't. Um, we all come from different religious backgrounds, and that's where we as the Navajo Nation need to figure out how can we create a program tailored to our people specifically for one person. Do they go to traditional ceremonies? Do they go to NAC? Do they participate in church? And that's where that program planning would come in, and that's the type of service that we could really initiate and implement and try to help them. Because yes, we can continue to send them to rehab centers off the reservation, but we're not helping them. They're being helped by non-natives. And we have seen during COVID the fraudulent activities of people getting taken off the reservation, being charged with access. I know there is a case that's currently going on here in Tuba City regarding the mental health institution. So that is definitely another reason why we need oversight. We need oversight because there's no oversight within Navajo Nation on programs like that. You could create a mental health program on a Navajo Nation and not report to anyone. So that's scary to think about. But when it comes to like issues regarding alcoholism, we need to create programs on the Navajo Nation that helps our Navajo people. They need to be Navajo culturally based. They also need to be respectful to each individual's traditional belief. If they believe in traditional practices, NAC, or within the church, a church setting, we need to offer that type of care, that type of service to them. Just try to assist them to get them through this process because it's very important that we help our community members. But also, I think another thing to address that regarding alcoholism is another thing for me is you see a lot of people running on this campaign of public safety, hiring more officers, more officers. You hear it, you see it on Facebook. They're hiring, they're doing the recruitment, which is great. Yes, we need officers because we do have a limited amount within a large, vast area. And they travel miles, like 30 and 40 miles, or even I think Tuba City, you have 3, 4 officers within a shift that's covering this entire vast Western agency, and there's not enough officers to respond to each call. But also, I think when it comes to alcoholism, we need to look at the Navajo Nation law, make it more, look at the consequences. Instead of 8 hours, how can we really help our people? Because if we continue to go through, they get arrested, release, it becomes a recurring issue. We're really not helping them. We're just kind of just helping them with that instant or that short amount of time, then they do it again. They're not learning from it. So that's the reason why I think it's very important that we also really support our prosecutor's office, because the prosecutor's office is the one that's actually filing the charges. If it's a domestic violence that involved ETOH, that's a public safety concern, because I think a majority of homes on the Navajo Nation, we are family based. So there's not just 2 or 3 people living in a household, it's a whole entire family. So we really need to think about that, um, to try to prevent the alcoholism being back within the home. That goes through the prosecutors ensuring that if it's a dangerous domestic violence crime, that they get prosecuted to the highest extent of the law, to ensure that the family is safe, to ensure their safety, and to ensure that they know the consequence. If they do it again, this is what could happen. I think a big issue on the Navajo Nation is also DUIs, and that is, compared to like county or compared to the state of Arizona, it's very different, because you could get a DUI on the Navajo Nation and you don't go to jail, as long as, like, if you get a DUI in Flagstaff or in Phoenix or in the state, you deal with consequence, you deal with the fines, you have that risk of going to jail for more than a day, maybe a week, a month, 6 months. So that's very scary to think about, and that's where the prosecutors would come in and look at, is it a recurring issue? If it's a recurring issue, then yes, we would address it and try to look at ways of how we could really help the person, but also ensure the safety of the community as well.
Would you lift prohibition or continue prohibition?
I would lift it.
You would lift it. Am I correct on that? I can't hear you.
Okay, so uh, I think I answered this wrong. I would not lift it because it's an issue. We know that ETOH, public intoxication, is common on the Navajo Nation. And it's very, I think, wrong that the Navajo Nation casinos as well sell alcohol, because we know it's an issue. So why are we allowing these Navajo owned businesses to have liquor license? So it's, I would not lift it. Sorry, that's the way I would answer that question.
Okay. So that comes to your, you mentioned your platform, infrastructure, elder youth, education, healthcare, sustainability, support of small business, law enforcement, and under that is like prosecutors and lawyers, and you kind of pretty much touched on that. So I do appreciate that, and but I think there's a one thing that we really never talked about, and one of and which I regret, but I'm going to start asking for any uh, for the second rounds for anybody who comes forward, is that right now we have, you touched on it, and I'm glad you did. That problem is you know there are 638 programs, and that's the police department. There's a
Mhm.
huge lack, you know, one officer to cover Northern Agency, and a lot of cases are just slipping through the cracks, and there's nothing happening. What would you do to help with that? Help that law enforcement stuff, all that, so to make sure that the community feels safe.
So, we definitely supporting recruitment. That is something that we currently see happening today. I know they did reduce the age limit to become an officer, which is great because that brings out more people within more people provides them the opportunity to join. Um, but when it comes to public safety, as I stated, it also includes ensuring that our prosecutors are there because yes, we can arrest. Say we arrest 10 people and those 10 people, the cases, if they're not charged within a timely manner, out of that 10 or that entire 10 could be dismissed and then they're back in the public again. So to ensure safety, we really need to ensure that we are, I know your question, recruitment, support it. As a Navajo Nation Council delegate, get the word out there. Haven't really seen in my area, I know we have like the boot camps that they host, so that is great. But we need to. I know the pay, maybe provide incentives. Maybe a hiring bonus would definitely maybe attract more people to apply for the job. As I stated, the Navajo Nation pay isn't great, so that is something that I think as a Navajo Nation council, we council to ensure that we hire more Navajo Nation officers. We could also provide a bonus. Regarding like if, once they're hired 90-day probation or once they finish their pre is it mentorship with with their police officer or their training, then they can get that bonus. That would be another way of ensuring that we keep that we retain the officer, but also maybe making sure that we create it in a way that they do like the term conditions, that if we're providing this amount, they have to stay with the Navajo Nation Police Department for this amount of months or years. Would be also to ensure that that they stay there, that they don't just get the bonus and leave. And that's the way I would address something like that.
Okay, yeah, very nice. Did you read that last comment? It says bootleggers and drug
Let me
dealers
look at it. Hold on.
need to be caught, and I can't read that last because it's a little blurb on there. But anyway, so yeah, um, okay, that sounds good. I'm glad you came forward, and you're doing this follow up for second round. And again, I encourage all the candidates who've done this podcast to kind of refine your message and to you know, uh, let your voters know that you're serious, you're here, and that's the purpose of this public service that I'm providing to the Navajo people. And today we've got Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay, and you know who his chapters are. We talked about it at the beginning. Cool. Now, I'd like for you to present your closing comment, but but I'd like for you to start your closing comment by explaining to the listeners why you felt motivated to do a second round. Mr. Begay.
Okay, so nana yat onot soshik Asian and Ashit Kahas negotiation Kilbige in a share, Ado Donig in a Shenigi AP Patoni, Hodich in a Shankia Ani Ebashin, touching a dashe adult Kanazani Dashanel, Ele Nashit on that Nasha, Ado Kut Agu the National Okonana yat. Hello everyone watching this video. My name is SHAQUILLE Begay. I come from Wildcat Peak, Arizona. I am Deer Spring Bitterwater. I am born for the Tying clan. My maternal grandfathers are the Red Running into the Water, and my paternal grandfathers are the Tango clan. And I am running for Navajo Nation Council for District 1. What's in District 1? District 1 is Coppermine chapter, LeChee chapter, Kaibito chapter, and Tonalea chapter. Those are the 4 chapters within my area. I am on the ballot as position number 1, so make sure to vote for SHAQUILLE Begay for Navajo Nation Council if you live in District 1. And the reason why I wanted to come on this as a second round is to share my information, share my platform with the viewers out there, because I know it's a lot of people are watching this. I think in the past went traveling to every chapter meeting, planning meeting, and so forth. It goes back to this interview. And I also want to thank Mr. Nez for giving me this opportunity to interview again and share my platform with the Navajo people, because I'm not just representing my chapter, not just the 4 chapters, I'm representing all 110 chapters on the Navajo Nation. So it's very important that you as voters get to know who we as the Navajo Nation Council delegate candidates. And I think it's very important that you guys also do your research. Just because you know someone or you know who they are, make sure you do your research. Look at their past experience. What have they brought to your community? And also what type of entities or organizations that they were involved in, and was it successful? Look at their track record. These are areas that you would want to ensure that you have all answers to ensure that you vote the right person in. And I don't want to talk it's just very important that we stay up to date with our issues. And as I stated, my platform is here, and I just want to go over it one more time with you guys all. So I'm committed to improving infrastructure. We spoke about infrastructure. That's going to be housing, that's electricity, water, and broadband. And when the most important thing about broadband is we're in an area where it's very rural. For me, as I was a Diné college student, it's very hard to get internet service. There was times where I would have to drive to Red Lake to get internet service at our local chapter house, and they provided Wi-Fi during the pandemic. So that was definitely a resource that I took during that time. And then regarding like infrastructure or broadband, we're into healthcare. As I stated, I'm in the healthcare field. So if we really want to expand services to all Navajo people, it's very important that we have that infrastructure, broadband, Wi-Fi, so then we're able to go through rural areas, communities, and far from Tuba City, that we're able to do telehealth. Telehealth is going to be very important because on the Navajo Nation, I think throughout the Navajo Nation, we do have a lack of providers, specialty care. We don't have cardiology, neurology, nephrology on site. So that's where telehealth is important, that we have that Wi-Fi, we have the broadband services that we're able to connect maybe at our chapter houses, that grandma, if she needs to see a cardiologist, that we have, say, like the mobile clinic there that can connect the computer to the screen, and grandma could see a cardiologist instead of traveling to Phoenix, which is about 4 hours away from us. She can get the care, that one-on-one care at her home location or at the chapter house. That's an area that is very important. And then supporting our youth. When it comes to supporting our youth, when I talk about our youth, definitely a big thing is going to be like our workforce development, but also like our youth summer youth programs. I am abroad. I During the summer, I used to work at the Office of Youth Development here in Tuba City. I started working there every summer since I was 14 years old. So I think it was like my 8th grade year. I worked there my 8th, freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So that's 4 years in a row. That provided me the experience that I needed to work, that experience that I needed to in a work setting, but also that provided funding for me. I was able to purchase my own clothes. I was able to buy my own book bag, school supplies. So, and it also teaches you how to be independent, how to as a young individual how to save money, and that professional growth and development is there. When it comes to our elders, a big thing I think within the past 4 years we have heard is the lack of funding regarding senior centers. Our elders, as I stated, there's going to be areas where our elders, they live with their family or they don't live with their family, they live alone. That is like real situation. We have elders who t- don't have people taking care of them. They don't have their kids taking care of them. So when it comes to senior centers, this is an area of where they're able to spend their day 8 to 5, where they get free meals, breakfast, lunch, and maybe dinner before they leave. It's a place that they're able to connect with their community. It's a safe place because, and it's also an area that has AC, has light, has electricity. Maybe that's an area that they could spend their day at. So ensuring that we support that, that we have funding for our senior centers. Instead of closing our senior centers, we should be opening it, expanding it, and ensure that it's fully staffed, that there's food there. Education, I know a big thing is supporting our tribal colleges, um, but not just our tribal colleges. It's also our going to be on the it's going to be our technical side as well, like welding. We have carpentry. We have auto mechanic. These are programs that are already here in the Navajo Nation. They are at Navajo Nation Technical or Navajo Technical University. Those programs are here. It's offered to our people. We just need to take that initiative to go there. And I think as a council delegate, one thing that I would really want to work on is regarding like ONSFA, is try to find a way of how we could work with my fellow council delegates to maybe implement a commitment agreement. If we're going to award you this amount of money, that there's going to be a term and conditions that you're going to have to work for the Navajo Nation or an organization on the Navajo Nation, to kind of like not repay back, but it's bringing you back to the Navajo Nation. Instead of you finding a job in Phoenix, you're going to have to work for the tribe. And since we funded you, we provided that funding for you to get your education. That's another way that I think we could really help with our employment area. And also, let's see, when it comes to healthcare, I know it's going to be a big thing, is changing the minds of everyone regarding um, trying to move our IHS facilities to 638. I'm a full supporter. The reason behind that is that we're able to offer more services. We're able to, um, when it comes to like government cutbacks, we really don't deal with that because the money that is generated within our organizations, it circles back. We're able to provide services to our own people. We're able to expand services. We see that with organizations on the Navajo Nation, such as Sage. Sage has built a brand new hospital. We have like Fort Defiance, and also they have a clinic in Hut'adzi. We have Tuba City, who just built a new clinic, and Echo Cliffs. We have Flagstaff Medical Center, or sorry, Flagstaff, which has Sacred Peaks, which provides healthcare services to our Navajo people living in that urban area. So that's the benefit that I see with tribal or 638 facilities. They're able to provide care to more Navajo people in more areas. And I think as a Navajo Nation Council delegate, my job would be to advocate for it. As I stated, when it comes to grants, grants are not tailored to Native communities. Regarding chronic diseases, and I think in this past grant cycle, we saw chronic diseases as a low funding. So, and for us as Navajo people, chronic diseases such as diabetes, renal issues is really affecting our communities. And it's very sad to see that that funding is not there. And that really comes to the Navajo Nation leadership, the Navajo Nation Council, of doing their part. They need to advocate, they need to talk about it, they need to speak at our state level, at federal level, that these are the real issues that our Navajo people go through. And also, it's another thing that I notice is that I hear a lot is that um, they state that like they're bringing that the the tribes are around a table, but it's not. When it comes to creating programs or creating budgets, that we need to be involved. We need to be create that partnerships with access with tribal with the say like Arizona State, the government office, the Arizona Department of Health. So definitely advocating at that level, economic growth and sustainability. when it comes to economic growth, for me, I think about ways of how we can really provide jobs for our Navajo people, not just now, but how are we going to generate revenue for the Navajo people within the next generations, next 4 generations, would be the way that I would look at. We live in the desert, solar panels, wind turbines. When it comes to, I know a big thing has been on taxation. The way I see taxation is, yes, if it's a Navajo-owned business, I do see taxation as a way that we could provide, or a taxation we could provide, but there are going to have to be stipulation. If it's a project or a business that's only a short-term business that's going to be operating for, say, 6 months to a year, yes, we can provide that taxation. But if it's a business that's going to be operating for the next 30 to 60 years, or for the next generation, then they need to pay taxes, because when you really think about it, that business is not the one paying the tax. The person that is buying the good is the one that is going to be paying that 6% that gets business collects, and that 6% is what the business is going to pay the Navajo Nation. And that could be a really good source of revenue for the Navajo Nation for us to reallocate to power, housing, education, healthcare. So that's the way I would see economic growth. Sustainability is going to really be on supporting our Navajo-owned businesses. We, in my area in District 1, we have our tourism. On the Navajo Nation, I think tourism is really going to be an area that we really need to look in. As I stated, I have gone to areas on beyond the Navajo Nation, such as like New York City, and it was pretty cool. When I was in New York City, I was like getting on a subway and like turn to my right, and you see this like big picture of Antelope Canyon. So it's definitely there. The view is there, and people want to go there. But we really need to look at ways of how we could attract more outside tourism, how we can attract them to the Navajo Nation, but also look at infrastructure. Same page. There's not. I don't know why, as a Navajo Nation, we don't open a hospitality like industry within that area, since we know tourism is big. That would be a good source of revenue for our community. It would be a Navajo-owned hotel. It would be in the city. And I think when it comes to businesses like that, we really need to look at, instead of having businesses on the Navajo Nation, why don't we expand our businesses outside the Navajo Nation? I think with like example with NACE. NACE was in the early years when it was developed, it was for our Navajo silversmith, weavers, basket makers, our Navajo artists to bring their goods to one central location, and that was tailored for business, or tailored for tourism, for the tourist population, the non-natives to purchase that good. But now, the way we see, the way we look at NACE is it's more tailored to our community. Our community members are the ones purchasing the jewelry, and it's just outrageous how these jewelry prices are like in the thousands. And it's better to buy, if you're going to buy jewelry, make sure you buy it directly from the artist, because you definitely will get it at a better price. But when it comes to business, as a Navajo Nation Council, we should look at maybe opening a jewelry business like in Scottsdale. We saw there's a lot of non-native businesses that buy jewelry on the Navajo Nation that have galleries in Scottsdale. Why don't we do that? That would be that would be our competitor, but it would be Navajo owned. That would be also another source. And then when it comes from Navajo Gaming, I know Navajo Gaming was also tailored to the non-natives, and we see that really as a benefit for casinos in Phoenix. Those casinos are tailored to non-natives. If you go through like Wild Horse Pass, Gila River, or Talking Stick, the population within that area are non-natives. It's the Belagon is the non-natives within that community that are playing there, and that's how the money is going back into that. It's going into the tribe's pocket. Instead of the tribe supporting that institution, it's the non-native businesses that are doing it. And then that, as a Navajo Nation, I don't know, I don't understand why we are not opening a casino off the reservation. Why don't we open a casino in Vegas? We know Vegas, everyone goes to Vegas. Why don't we open a casino there? We could compete with other casino industries and really make a name for ourselves. We see that with Tribe and the Seminoles. They are one of the richest tribe in the United States, and their source of revenue came from their bingo halls that was opened in the 1970s. And you see their casinos all over the world. You see Hard Rock in Florida. You see Hard Rock in San Diego. You see the new Hard Rock being built in Las Vegas. So I don't. And it's possible if they can do it, we can do it as the Navajo Nation. And then I know, as I stated, when it comes to public safety, definitely really improve or really supporting our Navajo Nation officer recruitment, because it is very hard to see or hear that we only have a limited amount of officers within a large, vast of area. So I think when it comes to that, as a Navajo Nation Council, we need to ensure that our pay is competitive. So we keep our officers on the Navajo Nation, and also regarding recruitment, maybe doing a bonus or a incentive or service commitment agreement. That would be great. So then that bonus is given to them maybe 90 days after they're hired, but it also has terms and conditions that they have to work for the tribe for X amount of years to ensure that they don't just get that funding and leave. So that would be another area. And then also, as I stated, as prosecutors, yes, we can arrest a large amount of people, but if we don't have the prosecutors in office, not just one or two, because in each district, I think the biggest district, last LOC meeting that I listened to, I think Kayenta was the busiest district, and I think there was like only like two or three prosecutors there. So if that's the busiest district with only three prosecutors, how are they like handling all cases, domestic violence, ETOH, elderly abuse? Like these are issues that are public safety. These are public safety concerns. So if we really want to ensure that we are addressing public safety concerns, we really need to ensure that we support our prosecutor's office, that they have that funding there, that where it's fully staffed, that we also need to look at ways of, as I stated, with education, bringing back our Navajo people to the Navajo Nation. We have ASU is a very good college that graduates a lot of Native lawyers, and that's great. But then you don't see them working for the tribe, like in the prosecutor's office. We have a lack of prosecutors, so trying to figure out ways of how we can bring them back, and that would go back to the service commitment agreement, and maybe giving them a bonus to work for the tribe. But also, we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have housing for them. Where are they going to live? Right now, I know is a good majority of people who are non-native that, uh, besides like the prosecutor's office, like even in the healthcare sector, where are they going to live? There's lack of housing, so we have people living in hotels. So we need to figure out how, as a Navajo Nation, how we can improve that. Maybe building apartment complexes. That would be a good source of like infrastructure for housing on a Navajo Nation. I don't know why we don't do that, why we don't have an apartment complex throughout the reservation. But then that goes back to like the community, their C Club, working with them, the chapter level. So definitely that has to be really good communication teamwork within at the local level to ensure that we're able to move with ideas like that. And then lastly, it's just building a stronger partnership with the Navajo Nation, state leaders, United States government. As a Navajo Nation Council delegate, we are the general oversight for the Navajo Nation. This president is the executive for his branch, but it's really if the president or any presidential candidate, they have their vision, they have what they want to accomplish within the next 4 years. They need to make that initiative to come to council, work with us. This is what I want to accomplish, because yes, I know right now they are doing like they're creating the budget for the next fiscal year 2027. So it's going to be interesting how we have all these candidates that are running that have these big extravagant ideas what they want to do, but that budget's already created, so they need to work with the budget that's already created to see what they can realistically accomplish within that first year. And it's going to be really up to the Navajo Nation Council, our Navajo Nation president, for that open communication, that teamwork. And we really need to just get over this attitude, this conflict that is currently going on. Um, it's, I feel like it's vice versa. Um, I think I was watching a recently I was watching a meet and greet regarding a presidential candidate who stated that they kind of just made the assumption that the Navajo people are voting them in office. So why should they work with the Navajo Nation Council? The Navajo Nation Council should make that initiative to work with them, since the Navajo Nation Council since the Navajo people's voted them as a president. And I disagree with that, because yes, they voted you in, but they voted you in for that executive level to be that leader to run your executive office. The Navajo Nation Council is the general oversight of the entire Navajo Nation. The community members voted that person in, and they are the legislator, they are the lawmakers, they are the ones that are creating the budgets, they are the ones that the Navajo Nation president needs to work with. And that would be my response. And I think my closing is that we really just need to work together as a community and just create a stronger and better future for our next generations, would be my closing remark for this interview.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay. And if people want to get in touch with you and get on your team to get the signs out there, knock on more meet and greets, where do they maintain contact with you?
Okay, so everyone out there, you can follow me on Facebook. My Facebook name is SHAQUILLE Begay. It is SHAQUILLE. Last name is Begay, Begay. That is my only source social media platform that I'm using for this campaign race. You can follow me on there. I will also be the next 2 weeks. I know 2 weeks is the primary election is coming up quick. So my plan, I have some chapter meetings coming up. I have some meet and greets that are scheduled. So definitely just look out on my Facebook page. Come by, say hello. And also I'll be hitting this weekend, I'll be visiting the local housing complexes in Red Lake, Kaibito, and LeChee. So if you see me walking around, say hello. I'll be passing out my flyers and also just introducing myself to everyone. So if you live in those housing areas, please tie up your dogs. I don't want to get chased by any dogs. So yeah, that's who I am. And I am running for Navajo Nation Council for District 1. And make sure to vote for me for the next council delegate for this district.
All right. Well, that will conclude this segment of the second round for the interviews that they've already done. And thank you, Facebook and YouTube and all the other platforms that are out there who have been here online. And I'm glad for your dedication. And we still need to vet. We still need to look. We still have plenty of time. Don't just go and jump on somebody's bandwagon. And because they fed you, they gave you something, they asked you. No, you're the boss. They're going to be our employees. So keep that in mind. Mr. SHAQUILLE Begay. Good luck on your campaign, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.